Blog Talk Radio.
Greetings and Hotep. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this morning. We are getting an early start and having our discussion this morning. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me. You've got your Omiyinka 7, and we are live. We are featured on Oracle Divination Network and my mother station that I'll be broadcasting from, as well as from my speaker broadcast. I like to say that we are creatures of habit, and we are talking about the coronavirus. And ladies and gentlemen, this is only from the perspective of Sherelle M. Garp, and may I add a disclaimer, this is the thoughts and views only of Omiyinka 7 and not of the actual radio station. I'd like to thank you and say that I hope you will include your viewpoints and call in to our radio station, because we would love to have your viewpoints here. And let's see here. We're going to tell you in a minute where you can actually call in and you can be featured on our show. We are broadcasting live on Blog Talk radio station as well as on speaker. And on the Blog Talk radio station, you can call in at 760-539-3247. Let me make sure. Yes, we want you to call in on that station to voice your opinion. It's going to be very heated. It'll be a heated night, I'm sure, before the end of our discussion, because I'm going to say a few things that most people may not agree with, but nevertheless, it is my opinion, and I have a right to that opinion. And can I get a clap from the audience for our speaker? See, speaker is not tied in, so you can't hear the claps from the audience, and we want to thank the audience for being out there supporting us. Now, once again, I want to say that the things that I'm about to talk about, they're not your ordinary things, but I want to give you some foundations and grounds to lay my beliefs on. And as I build this house, I have to have a foundation. So I have to build a foundation from facts that I've gathered. One of the things I like to say is that when I first became aware of the coronavirus, I was actually viewing one of the news reporting, maybe from CNN, and they indicated that this virus was in the Wuhan area of China. And I began to see where the various different foods, preferably meat, were generated that the actual Chinese people consume. And the meats that they showed were actually animals that most of your people would never eat. However, the Chinese have always eaten things like bats, turtles, snakes. They've always eaten exotic meats. throughout the world, many, many, many years before we were even, on this planet and came to this particular area, Chinese were eating exotic foods. And they didn't die off many years ago. And what would make us think that they're now having virus problems from the same meat? Now, the research showed that they were told that these meats were going to cause a problem. None of the upper echelons ate this type of meat, but only the lower class people who were underclass people. And I know that poor people do have to consume foods that are not the best, just as African Americans have consumed so-called soul food, and it was the rut of the litter. And if you were eating high on the hog, you weren't an African American back during the 60s. If you were eating hog maws and if you were eating chitlins, then you were eating low on the hog. But those who ate high on the hog were those upper echelons. But nevertheless, we have continued to eat those hog maws and eat those so-called lower parts of the pig that wasn't good for us, and we're still here. We haven't died off, nor have we created any virus from the chitlins. Now, what would make us think that these Chinese have now started eating meats that would carry viruses if they didn't carry them ancient years ago? That, I thought, did not pan out. It did not parallel with what I know to be true. And as I looked at that situation, I immediately said, can this be a ploy to make us think that the Chinese are bringing this virus in? Then I later began to read and found out that I need to test to see if this virus is airborne or blood pathogenic. It was confirmed that it was airborne. I do know a little bit about the laboratory. When you go in the laboratory, things that are created in the laboratory have to fan out to meet certain criteria. You cannot create something in the laboratory and then, you cannot ask for a patent on something unless it was created by somebody. That's the only way you can get a patent on a product or virus. And when I found out that this virus, there was a request for a patent to be on this virus. Why would a patent be on this virus? And the only way they could have gotten a patent on it, it had to be made in a laboratory. These are the things that I was discovering through other people's research. So as I thought about that, I said, okay, I heard more information that this wasn't the first time that this virus was spoke of, that it had been spoken of several years ago, and it had been projected that if this virus got loose, that it would persist until way in the 21st century, and that the virus itself was created to be an antidote to cure something. So my question is, if someone went in the laboratory to create this virus, what was their intention? Was it intention to address the population boom and to reduce population? Or was it created as an antidote? But for what virus was it going to be used? I then began to question myself about, could this possibly be population control, or could it be the way people wage war? Could this be a part of the Civil War? Could we possibly be using this particular virus as a chemical warfare? And had chemical warfare began, and because no one wanted to excite the people, they have never sat down with us at a round table to tell us that we are in a chemical warfare. These are the things that came to my mind because China in the Wu-Tang area suddenly started creating the panacea of the epidemic and locking down the city and the country, and the people were being locked down and actually quarantined. However, my question was, how did the virus get from China over to the United States? Well, actually, it went to Italy, to Europe, and then to the United States. I question all of this. Being in the area of science, working in a laboratory in pathology, it only stands to reason that something was going on here, whether we were in a chemical warfare, fighting an actual civil war, or this virus was created in a laboratory to do the actual fighting of our warfare. Now, as I said, you have a right to your opinion, and so do I. And if there's anyone out there that wants to concur with me on this, anyone out there that would like to call in to the radio station, now is the time to do so. And you can call in at 760-539-3247. And this is Oracle Divination Network, and we're also featuring live on Spreaker, and that's Omi's Organic Broadcaster. You can call in at this very moment. Please do so. I would invite you to do so. And thank you for being a part of this show. Now, I know it's going to stir up a lot of controversy, but I thought I would put that out there. Now, here's the other thing I'm looking at, the fear factor of it all. In the last 2 weeks, we've been bombarded with the fear tactic. A frenzy, I might add. When you become frightened and on a frenzy, you're liable to do anything. Now, the thing that I worry about are those people that have been tested and have to be quarantined. Now, I know that there's an election coming up, and you probably are getting prepared for it, and so am I. That's one of the biggest things. And the 2000 census. And with the 2000 census, we know that you have to be in your home in order to be counted. And why would we need that census? That census would tell us how many people in what areas and what nationality we're going to be voting. It's a big, big thing to know who are these constituents that are going to be participating in the election. And we know with that 2000 census, we're going to need you to be in your house. So what better opportunity than to quarantine you to your house to tell you do not leave the house, because eventually we're going to need your name, address, your nationality, and get information that will better equate us with whether or not you'll be voting in the election. So it came to reason that might be the reason for the quarantining. But you have to convince people and frighten them enough to make them believe you have to stay in the house. We have a curfew. So the deaths that are occurring, I understand that they're on the senior citizens and that there was really no cure, no antidotes, and that the larger portion of the deaths were on senior citizens because they were the most vulnerable people. I tend to beg the difference with that because I would think that our children and infant and toddlers would be just the same as the elderly people being vulnerable. And as I see the elderly people being carted off in the nursing homes, it came to me that maybe there is a ploy to eliminate the elderly. Maybe this is population control, and maybe the elderly have to go first. And in my mind, as I was thinking, I said, if we are going to be quarantined, they would be getting all of the locations ready to lock people down. Now, you have to put the fear in people about some particular death that will be created, and you'd have to be able to control the population by making them do what you want. So you'd have to put a fear in them, and the fear would be you can die from the coronavirus, which people were dying. Now, the thing I didn't understand, when people were tested and found to have the virus, they were told to go into their homes and to inoculate themselves and quarantine themselves for several days. Now, there was no antidote or medicine or antibiotics being given, so what were they taking to control this virus, even within their own home? And what were they being given as an antidote? But yet I was told that they won't have an antidote ready until a year from now. Why a year from now? What would be so difficult that they couldn't go in the laboratory to create an antidote? And then I thought, can't you take a bit of the virus to create the actual antidote? And wouldn't this virus have been used as an antidote to cure some of the people? But yet we're still talking about we can't control it, we have no cure for it, and at the same time we are talking about putting the tests out to test everyone. Well, if you test everyone and have no cure for it, all they will find out is that they've been affected and have no antidote. Why shouldn't somebody be in the laboratory right now creating an antidote and putting in the overtime to make it happen so that we can get a handle on this thing? Now, as a spiritualist, I do know that most things lead with fasting and prayer. No one has brought the priest up, the deacon, or the evangelist or apostle up in a day of prayer. No one has even seek to go to the spiritual realms to talk about, let's lay hands on this virus. Let's begin to root out, pull down, tear up, and crucify this virus through our words, because we know our words are powerful. And we know that when there's a time of crisis, we call on the power of prayer. Where is the power of prayer in this situation? Why have not we called on those great evangelists to go and tell it that we have a mighty God that still sits on the throne and that resides over the issues of men to this day? But nevertheless, we had panicked and ran in many different directions and believed that this thing was going to wipe us out. I can respect and appreciate President Trump coming to the rescue. He's now our real hero, if we didn't know it or not. To some, he's going to be a great savior. And during this time of election, isn't that what he would like to be? And any elected official that was running, wouldn't they like to be the hero? And that's exactly what Trump is going to be called in the end of this thing, the hero. He's brought a solution, and money, as you know, is a solution to all. And money has stepped in and became the hero, as he explained in his speech just yesterday, that he's going to do everything he can to bring finance to the situation immediately to overturn those people's problems who are affected by this virus and cannot attend work, and those who had to leave their jobs because of not being able to be in the public view. They will be paid, and as well as the general public will be paid, all of the general population of the people. I think that is the best thing to do to soothe the mind of the people. Now that he's gotten our attention and we're listening, and we're all ears, and he's soothing the mind of the people. Now, I don't know how much the salary of 1 month's salary would do. I don't know how long this virus is intended to be around here, but it sounds like somebody has control of this virus. Somebody knows when it's going to stop. But the best thing that African Americans can do is stop saying that this is not a lie or this is true. We know it to be true because real human beings are perishing on a daily basis, some more in certain states than others. So we know it exists, and there's something running loose here on our planet. We know that. It has been decided that there is truly something that's invading our planet right now. But our question is, how much of it is controllable? And who has the authority to step in to recoup what is left of our country and to soothe the people's mind? Who has the ability to come and talk to the restless and the faint at heart? And why don't we call in on our great speakers to speak to their communities and congregation? We are rendering ourselves helpless by saying that there's no way out of this thing. This system, as we know it, is on its way out. And I do believe that we will never know our world and system to be the same. It can never be the same after those people that have perished and made their transition. And it will have to usher in a brand new panacea of a new world order. You knew the new world order was coming. You read about it in your biblios, your Bibles. It prophesied that there would be a war and rumors of war, and that there would be this war of Armageddon. And this is a form of a war that's happening with us now. We're being plagued upon by a chemical warfare, believe it or not. Which countries could be against us? Who is really fighting us? Will that ever be revealed? We have got to use our conscious ability to go within ourselves and to ask ourselves the most prized possession question. Where did this virus come from? Who was it intended to impede upon? And is population control an issue here? And is someone attempting to control population with a virus? And if so, those people that are inflicted with this condition, will they perish or will they overcome this condition, and will there truly be an antidote created to save people's lives? We are at the crossroad, people. And for those of you who are spiritual, I think you know what I mean. When you are at the crossroad, we have to make decisions. And at the crossroad, we can go and drop our pennies on each one of the four corners and make our requests. We can truly make our requests and know that the ancestors are still with us. Though we cannot see them, we know that they are still with us, and we can make our requests known. Now that we know that we're God's, we can decree a thing. And when you decree a thing, it will not return unto you void. So I've said to each and every one of my followers, if you're not a follower, go out and follow the leader. Go out and like and share this particular broadcast with someone and let them know I'm on the air and that I will soon be in the spirit. And when I go in the spirit, I will render my vocal cords to the Spirit and allow the Spirit to speak through me as if the Spirit was talking directly to you. I have to let the Spirit lead and guide me. I cannot lean on my own understanding because my own understanding may be misguiding. But I want you to know something. Each and every one of you have a philosophy, a viewpoint, and a vision about what is going on, because you share in God's likeness and you share in God's essence. And that essence that's within us allows us to know the mind of God and to think on the same terms that God has spoken on. Do not let these people on the broadcast get on here and try to parallel their statements and sync up with the general news who has put us in a frenzy of fear. Just to look at those people coming off the ships and to see what was happening, what better way of putting fear into the world than to show them a ship that's sinking with people on it that have been diagnosed with this coronavirus? How fearful, how shameful it would be to make them think that your next ship trip will be sinking and going down because of a coronavirus. Now, if you do not have the antidote, but you know how to examine the individual for the symptoms, which are not flu-like, I understand. 1 minute they tell us they're flu-like, the next minute they say that they're different. Now, I do know this much about them. They do not like the sun. This virus is reflecting away from the sun. The sun will help to kill this virus. If you are African Americans, your body is vibrating with the sun and is heated extra hot that it will kill anything that comes in contact with it. But yet we have a virus that hates the sun. How much do we know about this virus? And is anybody in the laboratory gathering facts on this virus to find out what the antidote would be to kill the virus? We cannot pussyfoot around, chewing the fat on every station, every channel, lurking out there, putting fear in. We've got to speak solution. We've got to be solution-oriented. But I know for a fact, if we are coming into our own and this is a new world order, then we are coming up as gods. Gods can decree a thing. Gods can call a thing into existence. Why haven't we began to turn to the gods in the universe and say that we want these things removed from the earth and stretch out our hand over the water and ask for a blessing? Nobody wants to be spiritual now that this has happened. But you could have gone in anybody's church on Sunday and heard them pleading the blood of Jesus over every dire situation, over every disease, and they considered it to be so. They decreed it, and they walked away as if it was finished. Why can't we have a powerful corporate prayer on the daily basis where we come together with one powerful word, spreading our hands out over our head, decreeing that this virus is defeated, decreeing that this virus must flee and leave us? Why can't we do that? And why hasn't some official, some authority taken authority to do this? Are we now turned non-spiritual? Are we now not believing in God anymore? What is the problem? What seems to be the problem? And who can tell us what do we need to do to make a change? A change is definitely needed. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with me this evening or this morning. I like to say Habar Gani to those people who are just coming in, and stay tuned. Once again, we are live here on Blog Talk, and thank you so much for listening in. And Blog Talk followers that are out there, I know I've been away for a while, and I've been on other stations, but we are still going to maintain 100% there. And I'm going to ask you to tell a friend, to tell a foe, to come in and listen, and that Omi's on the air. And we're talking about that controversial issue, coronavirus. And you can get into the discussion, and you can be a part of this discussion. And all you have to do is call in at, all you have to do is call in at 760-539-3247. We're taking phone calls here. You can talk live and talk black to me. Just talk black to me. Let's get on the topic of black folks. Now, what do we know about the coronavirus when it actually is in the body of a black person? Have we did any research? One of the things that they are discovering is that it hates the sun. And you must remember that African American people are sun people. Yes, we are. So with our melanin and the heat in our body, they do not like the sun. So we know that. And do we have any statistics of the number of cases by race of those that are perished and transition? We need to ask our CNN News and our Fox News if they can provide us with this information. We want to know the statistics of how many African Americans have actually perished opposed to non-Melanite people. And this is good for statistics for our own purpose. And we also want to know, why are people buying up so much tissue? What does this mean? I know that when you have symptoms of the flu, you have the runny nose, and you may sometimes have symptoms of having loose bowel. Now, is this to insinuate and to make mockery of the fact that someone is dying slowly from this coronavirus, that you need tissue? I think we need to take this to another level and look at the fact that we might need all staples, not only the tissue, but we might need paper towels, we might need soap, we might need antiseptic. All these things should be made available at the disposal of the government, free of charge. Now, I know he's going to give us some money. That hasn't happened yet. I don't know exactly if everyone's getting the same amount of $1,000, but I do know that $1,000 can get out of your hand real quick. It's not a whole lot of money. And for those who think they're going to be rich, once they get the $1,000, congratulations. Maybe you are on the coupon kick and you are using and buying everything with the coupon. But it's going to take a whole lot more than $1,000 to secure those who are off work and who have to pay their rent or mortgage. Not to mention those who are not getting food stamps. Maybe he should open up the doors where we all can get a box of food stamps until this thing tides over. I would like to get those extra staples because it's very hard to get out to the store. And when you get there, sometimes the shelves are empty. Maybe the food could be sent to us through various different programs, Peapod, Amazon. Maybe that would be an excellent way of saying, hey, I hear you out there. I know that some of you are not eating well and you're ordering out because you want the delivery. Can he deliver those boxes to us, Mr. President? Can you deliver an actual food box to us from the food stamp? We'll be glad to get it because it's not cheese and powdered eggs. We now know that those boxes are consisting of good things that people love to eat. Now, people are going to be in their home a lot. So guess what? They're going to be picking up that mobile, making phone calls, making all kinds of orders, buying all kinds of things that they never had time to sit down to buy before. Wouldn't this jumpstart the economy by getting people out shopping, buying that big screen TV, buying that new bed that they wanted, or that new couch set? So now we are jumpstarting the economic by buying and circulating money. Currency needs to be circulated. I'm sure you know that. And without currencies being circulated, we cannot jumpstart the economy. A lot of things is happening here. Let's put our thinking caps on. We're jumpstarting the economy. We're getting off the streets so that when they start the 2000 census, we will be available to make our mark and to give our statistics of the number of heads of household and our race on the census. They are now hiring all kinds of census takers to work because they know it's going to be a real challenge, and at the same time, much easier than it has been in the past because you will be in your present home. And not to mention that I want you guys to draw the attention of the fact that a lot of flights are shut down or shutting down, and a lot of places we just can't travel to, and we still can't get a cab, and it's still difficult to get on a train to go different places. But why is it so easy and less costly to get on a plane to go to China, when in fact that is where they claim the actual virus came from? But yet any American citizen can get on a plane and fly there under cost. Why? So why haven't we shut down those flights? A lot of things are a mystery, and inquiring minds certainly want to know. And we have to be able to rely on our government to tell us these things. Now, we're big boys and big girls. It's time to put your big boy britches on and put your bloomers on so you can be able to hear what is happening, because some of us are not realizing what is happening, and we definitely have to know what is happening. Now, I want to say to those people who have just given up, and they're tired. And they don't believe that anything is going to happen. But I think that we have got to start looking at what can we do about the coronavirus. What can we do about the coronavirus? Is there anybody out there that has any solution to what we can do about the coronavirus? If you are out there, I definitely want you to get on your phone, your mobile, and call in at 760-539-3247. You can call in right now, and we will give you the opportunity to say something. Go ahead. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our studio. You've got your Omi Inca 7 live coming to you from all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. I am featured here with my home studio. And for those of you who would like to speak to me about one of our events that we are planning is our banquet for our banquet for Project 2019. Now, we are watching the numbers to see if it has to be postponed. We will make that announcement. As of now, we have not decided if we're going to cancel or not. But if we have to, we will keep you informed. And that's scheduled for April 25th. And it doesn't look like things are going to be settling down. And if not, we will have to postpone that until later on in the year. But nevertheless, you don't have to postpone your desire to be a part of our Project 2019, which is a movement. And we are urging everyone to get connected to a movement. You're going to want to be connected to a movement like ours because we are an after-school program, before and after-school program, which features preparatory tutoring for those young men and women that are interested in going into the STEMS program, science, technology, engineering, and math. We're going to be featuring tutoring for those young people to be able to get their ACT scores up and SAT scores up, and to also start going out on those college tours in the state of Indiana. We're featuring IU or Indiana University and Purdue University, and we're actually encouraging those individuals to go out and to apply for the 21st Century Scholar. The prerequisites is that you be in 8th grade and would be willing to swear to the testimony that you will not engage in any gang activity or get on drugs or drop out of school. And your parents have to make a certain income below the standard of the low-level income. And if they meet that standard, then you're eligible for applying for a 16-semester scholarship. And that's one of the things that our Project 2019 prides themselves in, helping young people to enroll in the pre-college program for engineering at Purdue University. And that would be a great opportunity and great time now to start applying for that camp. And that camp is for, there may be a scholarship there, I'm not certain, but you can enroll in that camp and get ready for preparatory skills to learn how to be a computer engineer. And they also feature not only computer engineering, biomedicine engineering, and civil engineering, other areas of design engineering. So if you are a candidate and would like to be a major of engineering and know that you want to be in the STEMS program, we can help you with that. And the actual before and after school program is a language-driven program. It is La Ferrari Language Buddy School, where we will be working with young children to help them better phonetically learn to blend, to encode, to outcode, and to read better. And also looking at taking up a second bio language, because we know that our first language is Ebonics. It is not English, it's Ebonics. But we're going to help the children learn Orthodox English so that they can better take tests and prepare for tests and be able to articulate and use their orator skills. So Project 2019 is a movement. And you asked me, what kind of movement? We're a movement for closing the gap of those individuals who don't attend higher level schooling, such as a certificate program, a 2-year technical program, associate degree program, a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. We want to push you to close the disparity of African Americans not getting training to better educate themselves, because we know what? Knowledge is power. And as we push that slogan, we're going to move in the new 21st century with a lot of African American leaders who know that knowledge is power, and that's why they go back to school to get higher level learning. Now, I'm not one to say that you can't function without a degree. I don't throw my degrees around, but I do say you need some higher level teaching, and that could be in the form of a certificate, a 1-year certificate, or 6 months. That can be in the form of going back to school to get a paralegal 6-month certificate. Always be ready to enhance your learning, because once you get that learning, you have power, you have authority. So we are not going to harp too much on this, but I did want to send you back to my website so you can learn about what it is we do and our mission statement and vision. We do have a mission statement and a vision, and we want you to know that you can be a part of that. We are looking for leaders and facilitators to head up our 50 states. Of all of our 50 states, you can be a facilitator and house your before and after school. And if you're interested, please do contact me at omiyinka1@yahoo.com. You can contact me, and I will be graceful enough to tell you how to get involved. We do have our own book that Chuck Sanford, the founder of Project 2019, has written. It is an excellent book and a manual, one for guidance for African Americans to understand the disparity of us not having credentials and what is done to us because we're not credentialed. We know those who have credential and a little bit of work experience behind them can go places, but without the actual credentials, we know that that is one of the first hurdling blocks that stifles us from being able to advance in promotions and advancing in careers. So we are pushing the career of engineering and medical records coding and engineering coding. We're pushing those careers as high technology and in-demand industries so that you can come to us and get information. And at this banquet, we will be passing out information to the mothers. We will be acknowledging those individuals who've made an advancement, who've transitioned out of a certificate program or a bachelor's degree program or made it to the high honor rolls in elementary or high school and would like to be acknowledged for it, be sure to contact me and let me know your accomplishments. And at the banquet, you can be honored for your outstanding promotion and advancement. A lot of young children don't think that they can get on the honor roll, but I know how to make honor roll recipients, and I aim to work with you till you can at least make the honor roll, the regular honor roll. But I know making the high honor roll may be a bit too much for you at first, but we will be pushing for those candidates to get on the honor roll and become a recipient of the honor roll chapter and become a member of the honor roll. I pushed for my son to become a member of the honor roll, and he stayed on the honor roll, and it was easy to push him to the high honor roll. Now, that is what's going to get you into these top 10 schools and give you a high index so that you can take advanced standing classes and get credit for your high school advanced standing courses. I'm pushing literature and language because I want my young African Americans to know they may speak Ebonics, and it's a regularized code, but when they're in the king's territory, they must learn to speak as a king does. And it's very proper to learn Orthodox English and be able to utilize it in writing as well as orator. So I do want you to be a part of this Project 2019, this great movement. I was the national executive for 3 years. I've been a part of this organization for 10 years. This organization has helped me to open doors for Extension College out of Cornerstone Christian College, and we were able to offer online training and certificates as well as degrees to individuals right there in Maryville, Indiana. We ran that program for several years, and we gave away 2-year diplomas or 2-year degrees for less than $100. And that's the kind of work that we were doing. And we continue to work in the community. And that's why Project 2019 asked me to come back as a national executive. And that is why I'm asking you to come and share our platform and come and be a part of what we're doing. Now, those of you that are locally here in Indiana, there's no excuse for you not to reach out to be a part of it. We're always saying that there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. This movement will also feature working with special populations. What are special populations? Special population are children with handicaps, with disabilities, and differentiated learning. We definitely work with those families who would like to set up their own parent information center. We act as a clearinghouse to help those parents to set up their parent information center in their home, in a library, in the rented space, and we show them all the steps that they need to go to in order to apply for a grant to fund their parent information center. And we do know we have PTs, and those are in the state, and here in Indiana it's InSource. That is the PT that has been granted with a grant to offer their assistance to the state. And what assistance do you need? The parents need to have the least restrictive environment. They need to know what that is. They need to know about getting their individual IEPs done. They need to have a surrogate advocate go to the staffing meetings with them, these IEP meetings, or if their child is getting screened for the first time. And if you are interested in becoming an advocate, all you need to do is let us know, and you can become an actual advocate. They've changed the name from advocate to assistant to work with parents to help them to go into their IEP meetings, their due process meeting or mediation meeting. And once you're trained, there is a small stipend that you are given after you finish the training. I won't tell you what the amount is now, but you are going to be granted with a stipend and a certificate, and you become a bona fide assistant of those special population families. We do want you to definitely grace our stage and let us know you would like to become an advocate or an assistant. then we can get you into proper training. The training is predominantly online. Once you finish the online training, you will have a face-to-face training with one of the staff members to learn how to be the best advocate and to teach self-advocating for the child and the parent. So you want to get with this organization. We're doing things, ladies and gentlemen. At one time, Project 2019 had their own radio show, and I was featured on that show. You can go right online to www.project2019.org or lookup.com. And you can see what we've been doing in the state of Indiana. And I've been inactive for a short time to work on some other projects, but I'm now getting active again to be the national executive for the actual organization, Project 2019. I do hope you'll join us and be a part of this fabulous organization. I do hope that you will bring your young boys, because we will have a program, a rites of passage program. As some of you know, on my thesis, my actual dissertation was on African American boys, the effect that females have on African American boys, coupled with their culture. That book is completed, and it's in a manuscript, and we've got the cover for it, and we're waiting to get that book out on the market. It's all done, and we will be talking more on the topic of how do female teachers affect African American males, and should African American males be transitioned into working either with the duo teaching of the male or female, or just the male once they reach fourth grade. So that's one of the topics that I have been lecturing around the states and at some of the conferences on. And since I came back, I'm looking to partner with Dr. Jawanza Kanjufu, because I actually did a spinoff from his book that he had, The Conspiracy to Destroy African American Males, and he encouraged me to go and find out who the conspirators were. And that's what my book is all about, and focusing in on who are the conspirators and how did they begin to be participating unbeknown to them. So you definitely want to look out for discussions that we're going to have on that topic. And today we are talking about the coronavirus. Let's get back on topic, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to know that you're definitely invited and you're welcome here. And thank you so much for coming out to be a part of our show. Hold tight. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. You've got your Omi Inca. I'm here to serve you. I am your advocate. You have got your Maliwa. I am your mother, too. So thank you so much for being a part of this segment. And this is our second half of the show. And for those of you who want to get in where you fit in and you would like to voice your opinion, our phone lines are open now, and our number here is 760-539-3247. You can call in with your statements or opinion. I know it's bright and early in the morning for those who have to leave off to work. You might want to get a little discussion in before you leave. If you're out there in the audience, in your car, and would like to tune in, you can call in to the radio station, and you will be featured on the air. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is ailing most people. They're frightened to get on the air to speak, but you should become participants, and you should have opinions about what is going on and what concerns you. This coronavirus concerns, everybody in the world. And this is a phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen, a great phenomenon. It happened so suddenly with all of the cases being reported around the world, first in China, then in Italy, and then it hopped over here to America. Isn't that crazy that this virus could just jump ship and come here? Now, we do know this much about it. It is airborne. It is not blood pathogen. So it's not something that you get in the bloodstream from exchanging blood with needles. It is something that you breathe in. I do know that they are now gathering unto their own as many ventilators as possible. Let me tell you what I know about ventilators, because I was an actual respiratory technician. I set up the ventilators, I monitored the ventilators, and I put the settings on the ventilator for the various different patients. Let me tell you what I know about ventilators and working in the emergency room. Now, this is coming from my perspective because I was a tech, and being a tech means I did all the things that a tech is required to do. We had therapists who really wrote orders and gave us the orders to carry out. So we were the behind the scene, but we were also technicians in the emergency room when a patient came in that had an obstruction in their breathing. We had to intubate, and that meant to insert the tube within their throat to open up their airways so they can breathe. The doctor usually went in, and sometimes he had to open up the airways in the throat, and we assisted the doctor through helping them to sometimes use the ambu bag to breathe for the patient and to help to intubate, as well as to do something called blood gases, ABGs. Can you say that? ABG blood gases. We actually ran the arteria blood. We went into the arteria vein, not the venous vein, but the arteria vein, and we actually extracted blood out to check the amount of oxygen that the patient was receiving to determine how much oxygen we was going to turn up on the ventilator. And these ventilators are used as artificial breathing mechanism where they actually do breathing for you. If you're only breathing at 20%, then the doctors would determine if they want it turned up to 80% to give you 100% breathing. These ventilators had to be monitored. You usually went through the emergency room under a code, and there's where the team came in to work with the doctors, trying to get you stabilized and get you intubated. And upon getting you intubated, they normally gave you oxygen after they looked at the blood gases, and then you were then put in intensive care and monitored under these ventilators. Now, if the family decided that you were a no code, that meant if you were to go into a breathing unrest, or if you went into a code blue, and a code blue is where they called everyone in and try to resuscitate you. But if your family saw fit not to resuscitate you because they didn't want you going through this strange this procedure of taking you and using CPR on you and trying to resuscitate you, if they saw fit to make you a no code, then it would be printed on your chart, no code, and the no code would be printed on the door. Do not resuscitate. Just wave at the patient as they struggle through their breathing and let them transition and pass. Now, that was what was done for people that might be elderly or people that had several bouts with their upper respiratory, and did not want to live or to fight through another resuscitation. Now, in that emergency room, it was vital that I went and took those blood gases, put them on ice, and took the arterial blood down to the machine and ran it through the machine to discover how much oxygen was the patient actually getting and how much more did they need. So this was a technical area that I had to know what I was doing to operate these technical machines. Nevertheless, the doctor would give the order of the settings, and we would crucially, around the clock, monitor these settings to see if the patient was trying to forcefully do breathing on their own. Then we could turn down the oxygen on these ventilators to let the patient do his own breathing. Now, they're ordering quite a bit of ventilators. That means that they're suffering from some respiratory distress. Now, if this is truly like the symptoms of the flu symptoms, I have hardly seen very many people come in with upper respiratory distress with the flu, unless there was something blocking the airways. So my question is, putting these people on the ventilator, is this prolonging their lives so that the family will have to make a decision just to pull the plug because the person may be brain dead? Because you could truly be brain dead. If you miss getting oxygen in your brain can begin to deteriorate and die. So if the brain is already dead and they're placing you on the ventilators, it might not be cost-effective to put you on a ventilator when your brain is no longer functioning. There must be some kind of CAT scan done to determine if that brain is still functioning, if there's still activity, and if there is, you want to save the patient. But if there isn't, more than likely, you're putting a brain-dead person on a very expensive ventilator, which could run up costs, extreme costs, on a daily basis, let alone weekly basis. So my question is, who's making all these orders to place these people on ventilators? And are they dead corpse with dead brain cells already? Are these people that are truly functioning with their brain, have not lost any brain cells, and who have not died already, and who are trying to fight for their lives? Someone has to make these decisions, and it usually is the family members that make that decision, because these machines can be very costly. And my question is, whose expense are these particular ventilators being set up at? And what happens if the patient comes in without any insurance? Who's going to cover these ventilators? And if they do have insurance, do they get the full benefit of utilizing these actual ventilators? And this costly episode, is it going to truly give the person the ability to breathe on their own, or have they become so damaged that they cannot breathe, and nor would putting them on a ventilator help? So all these decisions has to be made by an attending physician that is in ER, whoever is on that particular attending physician. So I was really questioning the ventilators. Why so many ventilators? And how do you know you're going to need all these ventilators beforehand? Are all the cases the same? And can you predict that every one of these cases is going to require a ventilator? So, cost effect. who is that cost being passed on to? The government, the people, or who? And if these people can't tell you about their insurance and you can't find that out until a little bit later and you place them on a ventilator, then the question would be, you're now going to have to make a decision whether to wean the patient off the ventilator and let them expire, see if they can struggle on their own. A lot of times what I've seen is that you may be keeping the person alive through artificial ventilation, through the ventilator, and it looks like to the family that they're doing fine because the machine is going off and on and it's breathing for them. But when you find out later that those people or your loved one may not be breathing at all, but you just may be watching the cost go up on a daily basis. You then want to call a meeting and say, is my loved one breathing at all? What percentage of oxygen is he breathing? And if he's not breathing, is he brain dead? And are we keeping a dead corpse alive? All these questions must be discussed in the hospital. They must be discussed. Now, here's another area that I'd like to speak on, the emergency room. Since I know more about the emergency room, because that's where I initially worked, in the emergency room, when you have patients come in, I understood that the hospital was indicating to all individuals before you come to the hospital to make a phone call, to call and see if there was any active cases there or was it safe to come there. That is a good thing to do because you don't want to walk in on a full-blown case and expose your loved one to this particular coronavirus when they didn't have to. They could have stayed home possibly, called the doctor on the actual computer, talk with the doctor on the teleconferencing, and explain what your symptoms were, and let the doctor give you instruction at home so that you won't be further exposed to the virus. But that's not happening, people. A lot of people are calling 911, asking them to come out to their home to get their loved ones to take them into the emergency room. And I think that we need to do more talking about that on the news, to talk to individual loved ones. You don't call 911 unless it's truly emergency. Now, if the patient has had a fall, you might want to go get x-rays and outpatient, but you definitely don't want to run into the emergency room sight unseen because you might be running into an environment where you catch a case. And nobody wants to catch a case of the coronavirus. But some people were not informed, I understand, and that there was a full-blown case just this Friday in the state of Indiana up near the Maryville location. And it has been announced that there was a case then, but there were some people that came into the emergency room anyway while that patient was there. My question is, could that patient be infected now? Does that patient need to be tested for the coronavirus? And what is being done to secure these people that they won't be walking into a full-blown case? We must have protocol, and we must have procedure. It's very vital. Now that I've said that, my question is the tests. Where can you locate the tests so that people can properly be tested? And will they be dispensed only in the hospital, or can they be dispensed in other places? It should be dispensed in certain places where you don't have to go to the hospital. Remember, there are all kinds of septic conditions and diseases along with MRSA and other septic conditions that you can contract from being in a hospital, even from the nurse's hands or the doctor's hand if they're not careful to wash their hand. These infections can be passed on by your nurse, your therapist, your technician, your doctor. Now, once you get the test and you actually become tested, then do you inoculate yourself or barricade yourself in the house for how many days, 10 or 14 days? And when is the inoculation period over with? What are what are the contraindications and symptoms? What must you take to subside any type of flu-like symptoms other than flu medicine? Is there an antidote available that this patient can be given if they've truly been diagnosed with this condition? Now, let's go a little bit further. Now, for those people who have just had been tested and found to have the symptoms of the virus, do you need a second opinion to determine if this is a mistake and maybe somebody had an oversight on actually assessing you? So when this person goes home, how do they separate from their loved ones, and are they going home vulnerable to pass this virus on to their loved ones, further inundating one of their loved ones with this condition? All these questions need to be answered, and we as people that are staying in the home would like to have some way of knowing that we can find a test kit anywhere in the city, and they need to be dispensed in the city, or do we have to have nurses that will come and do the test? That all needs to be explained. Now, I know that China had its share of dealing with patients, and things have settled down in China. But my question is, are they still being inoculated, and are they still having the high-raging candidates who were actually diagnosed? And what is happening with Canada? Are the people continuing to die? What's going on with Europe? Now, and how did our symptoms become like theirs, and who brought it over here to the United States? Now, I know they said something about a conference, and they all went to China, and it had something to do with them bringing it back. But we act like this virus has legs, that it can stand up and walk, and it can present itself in different locations. What kind of factors does this virus have? We know that it's airborne, but does it have the ability to mutate, to change into other things over time? Let us now start looking for the mutation of this virus, because it will change over time. But if you're not aware of that, you won't be able to identify the new mutated virus. So please give us more information, and not the fear tactic, because the fear tactic makes people think that somebody's in control and that this is population control, that they're eliminating people by the thousands because they have to reduce the population flow. Please don't let that be the case. Lord, don't let that be the case. Let's go to our phone lines and see what our family members out there think. Our phone lines are now open at 760-539-3247. You can call at any time and speak to the host. I am your illustrious host, Omiinka 7. You can call in, and we're talking about this topic of the coronavirus. What must we do with it? And how do we challenge the status quo to make sure that they're telling us everything and they're not using things to scare us and to further put us in fear? It's bad enough that we won't be able to resume going to our jobs in certain areas such as waitress, grocery store jobs. And I know that those people are going to need more than $1,000. They're going to need some severance pay. And I hope that this is done properly so that these people can pay their rent and they're not thrown out of their homes and that they don't lose their homes. We've got to empty the bank for this one, President Trump. We've got to definitely look at all people and their problems. I know you got to take a look at what's been going on with the teachers. The teachers are losing their pension. They're having to fight for their pensions. And if this gets across to the White House, I would like for President Trump to know that there's a lot of women that are living without their pension, and they've come up with so many fake rules and added all kinds of early onset dates to stop people who are fully vested from getting their pension. This shouldn't be so. I think you should step in, Mr. President, and do something about these women and men who have lost their pension on some type of pollutant criteria. If they paid into it and they're fully vested, there should be nothing to stop them from getting their pension. I wish you would zone into this, President Trump, because this is another way that you can address those teachers who are no longer in the union. The unions have turned on the teachers, and the ones who are without a union and have no one to fight for them to get their pension back. I hope you will zone into our discussion. There's going to be a lot of problem with people not having medical family leave. Now, I know that they were going to try to get medical family leave with pay, but before they used to give you medical family leave without pay, and then they had the audacity to say that you must be receiving some kind of income from your job. So if you have no more sick time or vacation time, what hours would you use in order to qualify for your pension? So these are just some things I'm throwing out. There's a lot of roundtable discussions that the president should be paying us to conduct so that we can get some dialogue, some discourse. And as long as you're talking and have dialogue and discourse, then you're thinking. Then you won't become sporadic and frightened by everything that the news tell you. Now, I know this is real because we are on our way out of this system, and we're bringing in a new dispensation, a new system that will be completely different from this. Even the money may change, and our lifestyles will never be the same as we know it. Yeah, a lot of people don't want to face that, and they're ignoring that, and they think nothing is changing, but everything is changing. All things are changing. Just like Nina says, everything must change. Nothing stays the same. And these are the things that we have to content with. Change is hard for a lot of people, I know. But when you get your president that comes up to reassure you that you're going to have a chicken in the pot and a little money in your hand, then you must stand up and believe that. And you must believe that if you need much more, you'll be able to go back to him and say, this is not enough. You still need to provide for us. But I am so glad that they expediently made that announcement that they're going to care for the people that are losing their jobs and that are being forced to go home, and those who have contracted the disease, and their loved ones and family members. I hope this happens expediently. I hope it doesn't end up in a turmoil over the money. I hope that we get the proper just due, and we don't look at the Asians being the ones that are damaged the most by this, and then turn around and compensate them because we think that they've been hit the hardest because of their businesses. We all are business owners, and those of us who are black need to be compensated the same way that you would compensate an actual Asian. The Asians are crying the blues because they think that the government is going to carry them and no one else. But that's not going to happen. It will be riots in the street if that should happen. It will be gnashing of teeth because the Asians have been on the high hog for a long time, benefiting from the African Americans communities, coming in our communities and feasting on our funds and monies where we have taken care of them. Now it's time for them to sit back and say, let the African Americans get their reparation. We'll take a pass on this because we've always gotten from them. Why can't the Asians say that? Why can't they stand up and let the government know they're not expecting any preferential treatment? Because surely if they are given preferential treatment and the blacks find out about it, it's going to be some hell to pay because we've been ignored and denied our reparation, and this should be the time when the government pays up for everyone. Not just give everybody $1,000 because everybody didn't go through slavery, but to reconsider that do we go ahead and pay these people their money in order to avoid the plagues, because the plagues are surely going to come if the African Americans are left high and dry. The plagues are going to come by virtue of us calling on our ancestors to fight our battles, and we don't want to have to call down the forces to be. because truly there will be gods on this earth walking. The gods will show up, and they will stand for something, and they will not allow the system to beat us a second time. And ladies and gentlemen, why don't you go to the phone line and express your opinion about how you feel about this topic? And our phone lines are open at 760-539-3247. It's about 5:15, and 25 minutes to 5. And I know some of you are still in bed, but something aroused me to get up and do my show early. I haven't been on Blog Talk in a while. Welcome back, Blog Talk. Thank you so much for joining us, family, and being with us today. If you're listening on demand later on, that's good too. But we'd like for you to listen live because we have something to say. And we're putting out all these particular possibilities of what could have happened. If we're in a civil war, we would never know about it. They would keep the people quiet, and only the status quo would know about it, and they would prevent us from panicking, and that's what they're supposed to do. Some things you cannot tell them that the sky is falling and watch them trample over each other. They must be handled with kit and glove. We all must be handled with kit and glove. But by all means, tell us the truth about this virus and where it came from. If it was not only airborne, but made in the laboratories, we want to know about that. We don't want any lies being told about that. We want to know who intended to use it against American people or against the world in general to reduce the population flow. But we want to know. We're big boys now and big girls. We put our bloomers on, we put our big boy pants on, and we now are ready to take the medicine. Now, another thing, what type of antidotes can be created? And why do they say in another year it'll be ready? Somebody must know something. Somebody must have already started working on the antidote. I say also utilizing the antidote to be a bit of the cure. But we cannot have all these things happening. We've got the actual census getting ready to occur. We have got the voting booths coming open tomorrow for some people or today, and we've got this thing. The census want us to stay inside so they can make sure each one of us are counted. All these things are happening, and we wonder, is it coincidental or is it planned by virtue of keeping people into their homes to get a clear-cut number of how many people we have voting? This voting thing is a big thing. Somebody would go all the way out their way to make sure that the voting ballots go a certain way. And they have not approved it just yet, as Trump would say, that it's still in the hands of the government to make a decision whether or not they're going to move out the voting date. I suggest they do move out the voting date to give us a little more time to wrap our hands around this coronavirus and what it could possibly do to us and how we can cushion ourselves for the blow. If you don't cushion yourself for the blow, it's going to knock the wind out of some of us, and it already has. So I want you to understand that rather than panicking, getting fearful, get the facts, Jack, just the facts. We want to make sure that you get the facts because you can't run around here with a hypothesis. No, hold tight. welcome back, everyone, and thank you so very much for calling in. If you are out there and want to call in, please do call in. Our phone lines are open. It is early, 4:45 here in Indianapolis, and we are an hour ahead of those people that are in Gary, Indiana. We do want you to solicit us, and if you wanted those digits again, they're 760-539-3247. You can call in with your opinion, and the airways are open. We will give you your world back after you have solicited your statements. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this airborne coronavirus. Now, we know that it is a possibility it could have been made in the laboratory. Now, what makes me think that? Primarily what I've read, that they tried to put a patent on this virus, and that no way can you put a patent on anything that wasn't made in a laboratory when it has something to do with the virus. If they want a patent on it, it had to have been made in a laboratory for them to get a patent on it. This is what I've been told by some officials. Now, what is this virus intended to do? Is it going to wipe out all mankind? Is it going to reduce the population of the old folks? Is it only going to help? Is it only going to attack those that are sickly and weak with their low immune deficiencies? But we definitely have to know. And if there are test kits out there, where would we find them at? And after testing ourselves, where do we dispose of the testing kits so that we don't expose anybody else to this virus? And what are the antidotes that we can take to build up our system? Talking about alternative measures, are there alternative measures that these allopathic doctors can believe in, that can recommend? Because some allopathic medicine will definitely work over these drugs that have symptoms. So we're just going to have to let the people feel comfortable with taking their snake oil or their abnormal alternative medicine, because sometimes if it's all in your head and you believe you're going to be healed and you'll be well, then you will be well. But it's very vital that we look at alternative measures and not just allopathic medicine. This thing has gone too far. Too many people have died without us looking at alternative measures. And the alternative measures could truly self-contain this virus and help us. But if we don't seek the help for alternative measures by going to our witch doctors, going to our Babalaw's, and going to our priestess and our Petivs, and going to our Inyanafis to find solution to these problems that are flu-like symptoms. Now, once again, we're talking about jump-starting our economy. And the people that have been contracting the disease, they're going to help to jump-start our economy, because they're going to go out and start buying everything. And all those that are making purchases in the store, don't forget that they're now going to see their doctor more frequently, so they're paying those co-pays and going in to see the doctor more. So we're jump-starting the community in every way without anyone saying anything. There are now being large purchases made of the ventilators by the hospitals. These ventilators are not cheap. They're very costly, and these corporations are selling these ventilators to these hospitals for quarantining these patients and helping them to breathe. Now, the question is, will they ever get off the ventilators? Are they sent there to die? Because some of them know they cannot get those people off the ventilator because they're brain damaged. Some of them could be brain damaged before they go on the before they go on the ventilator. We definitely want to be informed and well aware. A lot of people don't want to be informed, and they don't want you to call this thing out or give your opinion about it. But that's a fool for you. A fool will be fearful and not want to know the truth. We've had enough foolish things before to happen around us and to us, and we've got to be more conscientious and savvy when it comes to using our own brain to think with and being very conscientious about what we know to be facts and what we know to be fallacies, and not just believing just because I told you so, but believing because you presented the facts, and the facts add up and line up. But for you to make decisions on something without any factual information, you would be a fool. And I'm telling you and urging you not to be a fool. Get on board with OMI. Start doing some research and start looking into the matter, because we've got too many people that are in the hospital that shouldn't be there. Some of them could go home and rest on their backs and get plenty of rest, and their body will begin to heal itself while they inoculate. But if you get ran down and worn down, you're going to contract something, and that's what we need to know. Don't allow yourself to get worn down or depleted. So what must you do? Take plenty of alternative measures. Go into the health food store and let them prescribe something for you. Keep up on your exercise, and by all means, take plenty of showers to get the bacteria off your body, and be mindful of the fact that you don't want to touch your face after you've touched other people's hands, and you want to contain any type of virus that you might have already contracted. There are many other viruses out here that we have to be alert of, and the MRSA virus is one that nurses can pass on to you through not properly washing their hand, or doctors. And MRSA is also a bad mamma jamma too that you have to watch for. And in the daycares, you can see a lot of virus contracted through the urination where the blood is, and also where you're changing Pampers, that you can be exposed to all these things. So those caretakers and providers will have to be extra careful in keeping sanitization around them, using pure alcohol, 70% alcohol, and getting yourself cleaned up. But you definitely want to make sure you acknowledge that this thing exists and you don't shove it off your shoulders. And we will see you in the sweet by and by, and thank you so much for joining our show. Let me go to the phone line and see if there's anyone there. We are calling on anyone that is out there that may be in the wings that we may have left behind. If you're out there, you can dial in at 760-539-3247. And we've had an early show today. We got an early start. And for those who are early birds, please do go out and frequent our show on demand. This is a hot topic for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about what to do about this conspiracy. Should we denounce it, or should we formalize some of our own hypotheses? I think you should formalize some of your own hypotheses. Whether you're asleep or you're dreaming, I want you to wake up. We're in the midst of a war, and we must prepare for a war. We must make sure that we understand how this little devil of a virus works. We must understand that there must be a way to kill it. Put our heads together, we'll find that way of killing that virus. Now, if we're looking to get phantom and fame because we're out perpetrating this virus and putting fear in people, and we're doing this on our show, shame on you if you're being led to be told to just keep frightening the people and making them think everything is real and scaring them. No, we don't want to scare anybody, because grown-ups can make their own decision. We want to make sure we keep fear out of the whole picture, and that we begin to occupy until the master comes. And if we speak to the master on a daily basis, we'll get some answers, and they'll begin to speak to us immediately, so we know what time it is. And I know what time it is now. It's time for me to go and get my beauty rest. And I thank you so much for being a part of our show. I thank you for coming on board with us this morning, early morning. And I do hope you will formalize some of your own hypothesis of what you believe the coronavirus is, where it came from, who it was intended to slay. It's slain a lot of elderly people. Hasn't slayed a lot of black African Americans. Why is this? It's because that we have this fire in us that will affect this virus, that it cannot take it cannot handle it. Then we must use whatever ammunition we got to fight back against this virus and no longer have its authority over us. I want to say a prayer because I said every time we get together and have a platform to talk about this virus, we come about a prayer. We come to you, Lord, today, empty and broken, and we come to you knowing that you have the solution and the answer to helping us to withstand this virus. There is no virus put on this earth that you did not allow to occupy. Now, Lord, we're asking you to remove this virus and to take the strength that we have to bring this virus down and render it powerless where it has no help and where it cannot overtake us. And we call out the things that be not as though they were. And we know that we have not because we ask not. Today we're asking you, God, to bring us into right standing so that we are held accountable for our doings and that we will win this war. And in the end, it says we win, we win, we win. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a blast to talk to. Thank you so much for joining me the whole way and staying up with me this evening. And I am off to bed, and I want you to get your beauty sleep and your rest as well, because we'll be back on here sooner than you think to feature other topics. And remember to go out and give me the 2 thumbs up for YouTube as well as for Blog Talk and for Streaker. Thank you, Streaker friends, for being around and supporting me. And make sure that you tell somebody about my show to like and to share and to subscribe. I look forward to you being a subscribed member. There's lots of things that we can do together. Thank you so very much. And I will say straight ahead and into the future, Milwaukee, straight ahead and into the future, Garland, Texas, straight ahead and into the future, Danville, Illinois, straight ahead and into the future, Indianapolis, Indiana, straight ahead and into the future, Avon, Indiana. Oh, double. And Baba Booey to y'all. Thank you so very much for being a part of our show. And we are off the set.